If you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Special thank you to Landmark Coffee Roasters, a sponsor for this podcast. If you haven't tasted their coffee, you got to go check it out. Some of the best beans in Southern California. LandmarkRoasters.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Jackson in the Stoke House. Dude, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man.
Ricky, you are a Grammy award-winning, Dove award-winning singer-songwriter. You've written for many artists. You worship leaders and bands. You are a worship leader yourself, leading at Harvest with Greg Laurie. You have performed on massive stages over the last 20 years, but somehow remain in this small town vibe feel. Every time I'm around you, I'm like, this guy, you know what I mean?
What do you mean small town vibe feel?
Like it's hometown. Like it's always like home. You know, it's like you're a rock star. But no, you are. But people, you know, I think people know that Ricky Jackson's a rock star, but it's like he just has a way of making you feel like family, making you feel like home. A lot of people don't know this, but you are a stellar photographer and storyteller through your photography. I'll never forget you and your brother Ran. You guys were there on the day we planted Legacy in Studio City 10 years ago with Pastor Greg. You guys were leading worship for us on our first opening day. You are one of the coolest guys on the planet that I rarely get to spend time with, but every time is rich and fun. And what I love most about you is your authentic heart and desire to know God and just love people everywhere you go. You are married. You got 2 babies. Congrats. Dad life's the best life. And you are a good husband. You're a good father. Blessed to know you, brother. Welcome to Stoke House.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's really kind of you. And wow, honored for you to say those things. I don't think they're all true, but I appreciate it. I will say, I would love to start by touching on the whole rock star thing.
Yes.
Because
you're a rock star for sure. Yeah, you're rock.
I want to like be clear. I think I spent maybe 20 years trying to be a rock star.
Yeah.
And now it's the last thing on earth I would ever want to be.
Yeah.
So, because it's really interesting because I grew up doing music and my dad did music. My mom was actually a professional drummer.
Your mom?
Yeah. I mean, I say professional, but at one time they moved to Maui and I found like a record with her as a drummer, and I knew she was a drummer. She was a great drummer, but on the back of the record, instead of recording in Nashville, I was like, Mom, you recorded an album in Nashville? She was like, well, I didn't want it to be your mom's thing. I wanted it to be your thing.
Wow.
But anyway, so it's very musical, all that kind of stuff. But I spent like the majority of my childhood, teenage years, signed a record deal when I was, I think, 16 or 15 with David Foster. And just this journey, all these record deals that would flop and tours and just, it's so, for me, it was, as much as I love music, the rock star thing of always being, well, we never like hit it huge. So I was always like, I'm trying to get to this point. I'm trying to get to this point. So you're always like, are people going to like this music? So like, even as we were writing, and I think that's where we kind of went wrong, was because I was always like wanting to make music that people loved. And I get that, but it's really hard to please everyone. And there's a lot of amazing artists out there. And then you get into this game of comparison. And I'm like listening to my like Radiohead and all these other bands going like, how am I going to compete with that? You know? And it kind of like, I've heard that, you know, comparison is this huge thief of joy, right? Obviously. But I will say, when I met Jesus and fell in love, and then it was a natural, and it was later after all that stuff. As much as I knew Jesus, my dad was a preacher, a music director and all that stuff, it wasn't until I like fell in love, like with an actual, you know, relationship with him, that like music was just natural. It was like an outpouring. And then the last thing I did was care what anyone thought. I only care what he thought. And I was like, rockstar game over. It's like, I just want to make music for him.
Praise God.
And it's so much more fun. Yeah. So much more fulfilling. And yeah, so.
It's awesome. I have a picture of us in your rockstar days.
When I had long hair?
Dude.
Did I?
Yeah. Well, this is a great pick. I don't even know where we're at, but
we're somewhere.
That's it. we're off in those pillars. Yeah.
We kind of look like cousins or brothers.
Yeah, maybe we could have done it.
You should have been in the band.
I would have just stood there and just hung out. But
we're really fit though.
I think no dad life yet.
No dad life.
No dad bods yet. But
that's what we had 2 hours every day to work out. But we didn't even work out then. We just had fast metabolism.
No, I remember. You guys, weren't you guys swimming or something? Wasn't that like part of your gig?
Yeah.
You guys got into the swim game?
I got pretty deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got up to like 2 miles, which was the furthest I ever got.
Crazy.
But truthfully, I think this phone is like getting in the mic a little bit. I don't know. I'm going to turn it off. I have a buddy that I just went to his memorial in Maui last week, and he was known for swimming 3 miles, 1.5 miles straight out into the ocean, and then 1.5 miles back. And
insane.
And he would do it for years and years. And
this is ocean swimming too. This is not a pool.
Yeah, he has so many shark stories and swimming out there with the whales. And at the memorial, I met all these like people, like lifeguards and stuff were there, and they were like, yeah, no one. I mean, he got called 911. They would call for him all the time because they would see some guy out there, and they would think that he was, getting swept out. And he was like, if I'm doing the backstroke, I'm okay.
Wow.
I'm just like, that's legendary status.
Lieutenant Dan stuff.
I don't think Lieutenant Dan could swim, bro. He didn't have any legs. I mean, what makes you... Oh, he could swim.
Oh, he did. He jumps in the water and he starts backstroking.
Not for very long.
Not for 1.5 miles, though.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched... I'm sure the Paralympic stuff. I mean, really.
So incredible.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
So he's swimming 3 miles at a time. I'm saying ocean because you got waves moving you around. I mean, it's not like swimming in still water. I mean, you have currents pulling you and all the rest. It's not fun.
Yeah, I asked him what his biggest fear was. It was like, mine would obviously be sharks, and his was to get a cramp. He's like, if you get a cramp and you're 1.5 miles out, game over.
Right.
I don't know how we got on that subject. We can talk about you guys.
We met like, I think like I'm 41, and I think we met like 40. No. So probably 20 years, 21, 22. I'm like 19, I think, when I met you guys.
Yeah, I'm 45,
and so you guys. So we're 4 years apart. I'm probably 19. You're probably around 23. Mm-hmm. You and your brother. Mm-hmm. And you guys are playing at camps. You guys are doing the Daylights, 3-piece band.
Yeah.
Or the 4-piece at that time? I don't know.
I mean, we weren't a camp band, but we did it for...
You guys did it for Harvard.
A couple friends.
Yeah, you're just blessing us. And
I know that we did a good job. We didn't know what we were doing.
Oh, dude, you guys would come up and just... I don't know. We had a lot of fun. It was bless the kids and play great music and have a lot of, I don't know, just have fun. And then, a lot of camps and retreats. And then we were driving down to LA, like trying to see you guys see your shows. I mean, it was crazy. And I think that's how all of that kind of began. But one point, I have a picture of us. We're up in Big Bear, I think. I got a beard like down to here. And you guys have beards too, I think, at that point. I don't know. I remember this.
0 grays.
Yeah. No grays.
No grays.
Right. No grays.
No wisdom.
Yeah. No wisdom yet. We were sloppy kids. And, but now, fast forward 20 years. And, but yeah, I'm blessed to have you on the show.
Thanks.
You guys grow up in Southern California?
No, I grew up in Texas.
Texas
boys. I mean, we lived in a bunch of different cities and towns, and before I was 15, I think we lived in 15 houses, moving all over Texas.
Wow. And you and your brother, and you guys have a sister, is that right?
We have a sister. She's actually the most talented of all of us. So I think she scored 2 movies. One of them was won a bunch of awards.
Wow.
Indie films. And my brother's still doing music. I'm still doing music. We both write for Essential over at Sony. Mm-hmm. And he's had a lot of amazing songs out in the church. You know, a lot of people. I mean, probably his biggest was "Reckless Love," and you know, it's funny because we were both working on Corey's album. At that, not this album, we were just writing and stuff. And I remember, and we wrote a song. We wrote a couple songs. One was called "The Prodigal," and one was called "Endless Hallelujah." But it was a Wednesday night, and I remember I was like, you know what? I want to go to my church. And no, it was a Thursday because we did the Thursday thing. I was like, I want to go to my church. And so I went to Harvest that night. And when I came back, I was like, are you guys good without me? When I came back, they had written "Reckless Love." And I'm like, why did I have to go to church that night of all nights? And when they played it for me, I was like, this is one of the best songs I've ever heard. I mean, as soon as it starts playing, even the melody just feels like incense rising. You're like, oh my gosh. But yeah, he's amazing. And we just wrote a song last night in our studio. We have a studio together in Sierra Madre.
How many songs do you think you've written like over the last 20 years, you know?
I don't know.
Hundreds, obviously.
Oh, thousands. Yeah.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Are all these, are they locked somewhere? Are they just sitting? Like you guys just like hit memo and like just start singing or just start recording stuff like you?
Yes, but actually I have,
you guys have like 5-10 terabyte like hard drives? Like, is there like cold storage somewhere? Like
I'm a photographer, so I have a 42 terabyte NAS system. And it has all of it in there.
Oh my gosh.
I can't give it away on this podcast, but I have a business plan that involves getting them all off my hard drive out to the world. And that's all I'll say. Because it's not just about us. But I'm actually really excited about
Stay tuned.
About it. Because I feel like there's too much good music sitting on hard drives. It's a shame.
Totally.
It's kind of the perfectionism game.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah. But you know what? The other day, so I don't know if you remember, but I stayed in Mexico for I lived in Mexico for like 4 months, 5 months. A guy named John Corson.
I love John Corson.
And
I didn't know you knew him.
Yeah, we did a pastor and training program. I was right out of Harvest. I'm like 22 years old. We went and lived with him down in Carmen Serdan, Mexico, like 40 miles south of Tecate, out in the middle of nowhere. And he was just trying to teach us to know Jesus, you know, and just walk with him and kind of solitary, like removed, you know, no phones, no news, no TV, no nothing. Like we're just out there studying like 6 hours, praying, you know, 3 hours a day. We're just communion early in the morning, serving these handicapped orphans. Just powerful, powerful time, right?
Do you speak Spanish?
I don't. No, I wish. Poquito, you know. There's a group text. I was down there with 20 other guys, and we recorded this guy named Phil Grigsby down there. I had a little like voice recorder, like memo thing, and he was writing these songs, dude, that were just like leveling us because his heart was so rich, and the lyrics. He's a poet, dude. It was just like pouring. He's kind of like a Bob Dylan type, you know, and he would sing these things, and one of the guys was asking like, "Hey, who's got Phil's songs?" You know. Like, oh, Thompson probably has it, you know? And so I like pulled out my hard drive and I went into the files, dude, and I found, so there's the stages. There's like on this voice recorder, there's like, we're banging like in the bathroom because the reverb was so great. And
it's true.
Yeah. We're banging in there and there's 2 songs super raw. The next one is when Phil got back. I'm like, Phil, you got to record these like 5 songs or whatever you did. We do it in my bedroom on a Pro Tools, like him like yelling into a mic. It's not even that good, but it's like so raw. It sounds amazing. The next one is like his album that he did, and then he did like an EP. It got cleaner as time went on, but dude, the rich, the powerful is in the originals, dude. It's like you go back and listen to his voice, just listen to everything. You can feel everything. It's so rich. In the archives is the magic.
I think you're right. That's where all the passion, and they always say the first take is the best take because you're kind of like, it's the unknown, and there's always like you're on the edge of something, and so you're reaching further because you're like, how far am I gonna go?
Mm-hmm.
And the vocal is always more vulnerable and passionate. And I find with artists when I'm producing records, I'm always about like when we write the song, I'm like, let's get this vocal, and I'm going for gold because that's gonna be the one that we'll probably at least take the most from.
Mm-hmm.
But
there's a jam you guys did that I recorded on the phone when you guys were worshiping on one of our, I don't know, something you guys were doing. You did the Gloria 34.
oh yeah, Taylor.
I don't know. I don't even know who sang it, but I have the thing. I put that on an MP3. I'll play that in my car. It was so rich.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's
That "Oh, taste and see that the
Oh,
Lord is
taste and
good."
See that the Lord is good. That song is.
All you people, all you saints, all you children of the King.
Someone look up those lyrics on Google and we'll find
Yeah.
out who it is. You know what's weird is like, as amazing as hard drives are, and I'm not just trying to like think up a subject, but I can't even describe how amazing this is. When I was a little kid, my dad would go. Speaking of kind of going on a trip to another country, he would always go to Haiti, and he went on multiple trips. And so I grew up my whole life like praying for Haitians, like every night. I remember that we also had a friend that went to jail, and he would go and visit, and we prayed for him every night. The kids are so faithful with that stuff; it's wild. I think until I was like 16, probably from the time of 5, I prayed for Haitians and this guy in prison every night. I don't even think he was in prison anymore, but I was still praying for him. But so he came back from Haiti probably when we were 6, and he taught us this song that someone had written out there. And it was like, Jésus-Christ, c'est tout, la vie, moi, la vie, moi, la vie, moi. Jésus-Christ, c'est tout, la vie, moi, c'est lui-même qui sauve. And it's like, Jésus, 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 Jésus. And then it goes back. So anyway, he taught it to us as little kids.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't speak Creole. So you would think like, that's not the right pronunciation, all this stuff. So I had a buddy that ended up passing away tragically. He was a mentor, and his wish was that his ashes would be spread in Haiti. And so we went over with his 3 daughters and my brother, and just kind of we stayed with some friends, and our whole goal was just to spread his ashes and just hang out for a week or something. And there was this massive thunderstorm one night, and it was like lightning and pouring rain, and then the power went out. And, I have this deep, deep love for Haiti, but for us in that moment, it wasn't the safest environment. So I remember guys kind of walking around the room with sawed-off shotguns, just kind of protecting, the gates, who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
But in the sound of all this, like, I love rainstorms coming from Texas, but it was pouring. And then this guy, what's his name? He pulls out an accordion, and he starts playing the accordion. And my brother, he hands it to him, and he starts playing some chords, and he doesn't know how to play accordion, but he figured it out and kind of like mastered it in like 5 minutes, like he does everything, like a wizard. And all of a sudden he starts singing this song that my dad had taught us.
Oh, dude.
And the guy just has a single tear like this. And he goes, you won't believe this, but I translated that song for Americans 30 or 20 years ago. And it's perfect Creole. He's like that. I understood every word. That's the same melody, the same everything.
Insane.
And like no one knows this song. Like just some person wrote it, and they sing it in some Haitian churches, and it just blew my mind. Speaking of like the magic, the hard drive of the mind, I'm like music has a way of sticking and not getting out, which is one of the reasons why I love it so much. Is because I've heard it said that. Obviously worship is, what we're created to do. And there's many ways to do it. Music is a really beautiful way to do it. Mm-hmm. It's like a language that is happening currently in another dimension, you know, and we don't know what we're going to speak, you know, in terms of our language, but music is definitely happening.
Angelic language.
Yeah, for sure. And it just gets in you and it gets in your bones. And I actually think it's because music is just light slowed down. Literally light slowed down. You probably know about that.
Light slowed down.
Yeah. So if the speed of light is 188,000 miles per second, right? It's like, you know, you start to slow it down and you get colors.
It's just, and waves, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. If you want to get into like the wave particle duality, we can talk about that with quantum physics. But honestly, if you slow it down, like then all of a sudden you get like ultraviolet colors, then you get, you know, your colors of the rainbow, and you keep slowing it down, light, and then you get your first tones, which is like whistles above dogs, what they can hear, all the way down to the lowest tones of like whales and things that, you know, we'll never be able to hear.
Crazy.
Currently. But like, it's literally the stuff that makes up the universe. And then we're literally putting truth and scripture to light, slow down, and it gets in our souls. And I don't think that's one of the reasons why we can't forget it. It's also why you hear when you go to a retirement home and someone hasn't spoken in 5 years and you sing a song and they sing it. You're like, what is this? So I've heard it said in worship that like you would like for people to sing what they believe, but they believe what they sing. You know, so if you're listening to music, you know, that, you know, and I love all kinds of music. I don't want to bash any music. I love it all. Yeah. But, you know, with a message tied to it that is rooted in something that's just like shame or untruth or you know, darkness, then that gets stuck in that can easily get stuck in you, and then it becomes what you believe. You know what I mean? It literally becomes your mantra, you know. So
have you seen those images? It's almost like they zoom in on water particles and then they play tones and like majors and minors and like all kinds of different sounds. They put it, yeah, it's like beautiful, like crystallization like takes place when the bright music comes forth, but when it's dark or it's heavy or it's eerie, you know, it basically causes this like almost chaos like within. And it's really interesting to like what you're saying is like to think through that lens, that this music has the ability to, I don't know, almost change the structure of who you are, and then the lyrics are coming in at the same time.
Yeah.
And especially when it corresponds with the truth of the universe or Almighty God. It's just like it hits and sinks, and when the sound is right and the truth is there, it's like boom, you know, like
goes into your bones.
The magic goes off.
Yeah, it literally can heal you. I mean,
no, I believe it.
I believe it.
I believe it.
At least on some level.
No, for sure. I mean, dude, I go to concerts sometimes. I tell Katie, I'm just like, I mean, this is a full secular concert. There is I don't even know the guy, whether or not he knows God or not, I don't know, but the music is going off. The sounds, the truths that he's declaring, it's like causing me to start blessing God. Like, am I the only one in the crowd just going off, just like thanking God for like what's going on right here? But it's like,
no,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like humans take this on, and they are transformed by this experience. It's one of the only experiences on the planet like so unique as you know, that if you get into that place and if everything aligns, you know you're going to be changed. Like something is going to happen. You say the word healing, something definitely is healing inside. I feel just rich and renewed and just blessed and full of joy and peace and relieved of all the stuff. You know, It's amazing that can come through in all kinds of different forms.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I was talking to you about one of my favorite bands, The National.
Yes.
And I've been to many of their concerts.
I got to check them out.
So good. But like, there's something about the tones. I mean, half of the songs I don't even know what they're talking about, and it doesn't matter. I know every word, and everyone knows every word, and it's yeah, they're playing the Hollywood Bowl and with the War on Drugs opening up for them, and I'm telling you, I'll go and I'll worship because it's just the magic of music and tones, and God gave us these like creative brains that are brilliant. I mean, we're created in His image, and He's a creative God. So then you start taking these elements, and we're taking elements that are from Him, right? And we're using all these different things from wood. I mean, I used to do drugs, and so like there's this. I used to trip out, before, well, we'll have to get into that later. But I, grew up a pastor's kid. We often swing pretty wide,
Sure.
So then I had this moment when I came back to the Lord, and well, I wouldn't say came back. It was more of like oh, there you are. I thought this was like a 2-dimensional thing. I didn't realize this is like everything, and I remember for the first time thinking about I was playing my guitar and I was like, this is a piece of wood that grew from a tree that came from a seed, and I'm sitting here hearing this resonance, and it was almost like I was high, but I didn't need the drugs. And you think the same thing with like metal and come from the earth, and the way people use drums with skins. You're just like, we're taking all these things from earth that God created and making tones, and then we're using these God brains that He's given us to make like it all like this tapestry. So you give me music, and I will find like this deep piece from it. And I like all kinds. I'm like way into EDM right now.
Yeah.
And like old Latin music. I'm just for the first time starting to get into jazz. I never liked jazz, and I studied opera in college. But all of a sudden I'm like, oh, if that many people like it, there's a reason.
Right.
So
But isn't it amazing that like good music is good music is good music is good music? It kind of doesn't matter what genre. It's like if it's done with excellence, and and that musician is like hitting that wave that all other musicians on the planet can feel.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. EDM, this is brand new. This is a brand new frontier of music that didn't exist, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it'd blow their minds to hear it 100 years ago. But if it's good, it's good. And even guys 100 years ago would be like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I think Beethoven would love the drop. I'll just sit there and watch Fred again videos on YouTube and just like with my mouth like, oh my gosh. He's like our modern day Beethoven of EDM.
But this, good music is good music, What I want to hear this, so Ricky, like, where did this start in you guys? Like, where did this, it's so tightly ingrained, like, into you and your brother and your sister, and like, it's in you guys. Like, it goes beyond reading a chart, goes far beyond any of that. This is, and even to say it's a spiritual experience is still not paying honor to like what happens in you guys. Like, I can see it, I could feel it to some degree. But where did this start? Like,
Well, it's funny because I'm a dad now, but my dad told me when we were little boys and, twins, he would always sing to my mom's stomach, and he put his mouth right up to her.
Wow.
And,
wow.
I remember feeling his reverberations. I'm just kidding. I don't remember. I was like, Je sais que tu love you. No, but to the point and I believe it, that when I was born, I knew his voice, and I did the same thing with my sons. I would sing to him. My first son's name is River, and I was always like, take me to your river, I wanna go. That Leon Bridges song.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna go. And then my wife would sing one part, and then I'd sing the other. I sang it to him the day he was born. I caught him, literally, my wife, she did it all natural both times. And I caught him in a bathtub.
Wow.
And I remember the first hour he was born, I was singing the song to him just to be like, I'm the guy, And then my dad told me when we were babies, he would match our cries. So, our tones. And then eventually he switched it to where he would sing a tone, and then we would start to match him. So I did the same thing with River, and River has like amazing pitch. He'll if he sings Jingle Bells or Happy Birthday or any song, because he writes like 5 songs a day. The songs that are, you know, normal songs, he sings in such beautiful pitch. It's just like, I'm like, baby, he's killing this.
Wow.
But I think that's kind of like, that was the start, just learning. And then by the time we were 3 or 4, he was like, you know, you're not going to eat unless you sing harmonies. No, I'm kidding. He didn't say that. But we'd be driving in the car, and, you know, an old Chevy Nova.
Nice.
You know, with pleather seats that you're sticking to because
I love it. I love it.
Trying to sing a 3-part harmony, and then he'd be like, "Okay, you're 7 years old. Let's write our own songs now." And so we'd make up songs. And
so your dad's a musician then, full musician.
Yeah.
And are you guys picking up instruments at a young age?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah.
And your dad's basically training you.
It was kind of like a childhood slavery type situation.
Yeah.
Just joking. I mean, we would go to churches, you know, because he was a music guy.
Yeah.
We would, that first Sunday, sing a song as a family on those mics with the
I love
marshmallow
it.
tops.
Yes. Was it yellow or red?
Yeah, and green, and like barf green. And I was like terrified. You know, like, you know, there's a bunch of old people out there judging us, and I'm 3, and I didn't realize that they were just eating it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, this from an early age, and then just kind of continued that way. But, you know, I think it was probably when we were like 9, maybe, we started a band.
Yeah, when'd you get your first guitar?
Probably like 8 or 9.
Did you start on bass, or were you playing acoustic?
I don't remember. It was so long ago.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding.
Really?
No, I think I started, we both started on guitar, and then my dad had a bass. He loaned it out to some straggler who wanted to be in the church band and stole the bass and ran off with it. That thing is worth so much money now.
Wait, what was it? Do you remember?
It was an SG, like maroon bass that's just stunning and had flat wounds on it. Man, it's gone. I hope he's punished for that someday.
If you know where that's at, out in
Cosmically.
Texas, send it out. Send it back.
I mean, God is merciful.
Yes.
But he
knows where it's at.
Yeah.
And he will find you.
He disciplines
those he loves.
Those he loves. And he loves everyone.
And he loves that bass.
Who does God not love? Yeah. So hopefully he got disciplined hard for that. And, but I just remember, you know, from that point on, we were in, you know, bands and making up, you know, songs, and I think we switched to all the kind of instruments, writing the worst songs you've ever heard. And then by the time I was...
got recordings still?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got recordings on that 43 terabyte drive somewhere.
You gotta hand those off to your kids, dude. Those are gold.
Yeah. It's like one of them, I remember we didn't have delay, so we wrote the song called Footprints in the Sand. But the song goes too long, and we're going, footprints in the sand, sand, sand. Footprints in the sand, 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 sand.
I love it.
I haven't heard them in a long time. I need to hear those.
I love it.
But I remember when we were about 14 or 15, we went on a trip, and we brought a musician in, like a guest artist, and we were up in Colorado. And well, I'll circle back to that, but basically a few years before that, we had someone come and they played at our church. And I remember, since we were the pastor's kids, we dropped them off at the airport afterwards. And I was like, what do you do for a living? And they're like, this is what we do. And I was like, you don't have to go to school tomorrow? You can do this for a living? And I remember from that point on, I was just like, this is all I want to do. If I can just do music for a living, you know? And then I remember we were in Colorado a few years, literally like 15, and a guy named David Robertson, he came, and we got snowed in. And that day we were supposed to leave. The day that there was a snowstorm, we just kind of like cornered him and said, you want to listen to some of our songs? And after that, he introduced us to one of his best friends, a guy named Daryl Brown, who's written a bunch of songs for like Keith Urban, You'll Think of Me, and another guy named Dennis McCoskey, who wrote Maniac. A maniac. And those
yeah.
guys kind of like took us under their wings, and it changed our lives. We would go to Nashville. I remember 16-year-olds going to Nashville, flying out, writing with these legends that had written all this amazing music. Oh, first of all, they would actually fly to Texas. They did it twice, where they flew to Texas and just wrote songs with us in our house, and just kind of like saying, well, here are the rules, but we want you to break them. But you should probably know the rules. And they're like, you need to be writing at least every day. At least every day. And, hundreds of songs every year. And then eventually we flew out to Nashville, got a record deal with David Foster, and literally we're just writing songs nonstop. I remember I was in college and I was like missing classes because we were flying to Nashville to work, with the best writers in the world.
Crazy.
And at one point, we changed labels, and someone had said, we want you to write, I think they had said, his name was Dave Massey, and he signed that band Oasis. And he said, we want you to write like 50 songs.
Wow.
And I was like, I've learned that writing songs is one of the best things that you can do as a musician, because you can actually, it's just, long story short, there's mailbox money involved, like you can develop, things that you love and ideas, and it's not just like you're playing for someone else that's doing that.
Right.
So I had said, if we do that and we write with all the people you want us to write with, then I would like to create a list the same size with writers that I want to write with. So they're putting us with the best writers in the world, like Linda Perry, and there's so many I can't even, Greg Kirshner, or Greg Kirsten, who did Adele and all these kind of things. But I remember saying, like, I want to work with my favorite bands, which was the Smashing Pumpkins.
Nice.
And, at the time we loved a band called Tonic. Do you remember them? Check them out. Collective Soul, all these bands, Our Lady Peace.
Oh, yeah.
And they literally just said, okay. So they called them all, and we spent a year writing with our heroes.
Crazy.
Like, literally in the studio with Billy Corgan, literally in the studio.
You're like, you're 19, 20, 21, you're...
I don't even know if we could drink.
Insane.
And, I remember one point we went to Atlanta to spend the weekend with Ed Roland from Collective Soul, and we stayed in his house and wrote songs for 3 days. And, it's just that kind of thing. And it's just like, I wanted to learn from each of these writers, their method, because everyone has a different method of the way they write songs. And I was like, I just want to know the options and then cherry pick the things I like. So at this point, it's just been a really big honor to be able to work with some of the greatest writers in the world and kind of learn from that process. But I will say this, I do find there's a similar process for all of them in this sense of like kind of waiting for that inspiration, waiting for that spark, because otherwise you're just kind of like strumming or trying to get inspired or play. But when it sparks, every time like there's the magic. That's like the secret sauce. And then you can feel it, and then you're just riding this wave. And I've experienced that in every single session with those people. So,
as far as like training goes, did you guys like you said opera earlier? You guys were trained in your vocals? You guys get trained in your instruments, or was it the mechanics in place?
Yeah, well, we went because we got scholarships, and then we got
a private school or your public school?
It was a school called Harvard. I'm just kidding. It was called Washita Baptist University, and which is the Harvard of the South. Okay. If you're from Washita and you're watching this.
Hey, shout out.
Yeah, to my alma mater that I basically, halfway through our freshman year, we got a record deal, and I was a horrible student from that point on. I'd love to go back and finish, or if you guys want to give us an honorary degree, I'd be
yes, please.
But yeah, what were we talking about?
No, because you guys were, it's like you start songwriting, but there is, for musicians, you guys are, you guys deserve the honor. Yeah, you and your brother are like ridiculous musicians. And it's like, Ran has this like magical ability to like, buttons and pedals and guitar.
I don't consider myself a ridiculous musician,
but
I'm really, ask anyone I work with, I'm not.
But you have I feel like there's got to be some bricks in place or some mechanics in place that has caused you, to have that foundation in which, you're able to transition into, this level of songwriting and being able to sit in a room with other great musicians and hold your own to some degree. It's what is that foundation that was laid? Is it, did you guys have was it an old rocker in town that you sat down with and he taught you blues chords or or scales and
if I could go back, I would do all of that.
Yeah.
And I would be in lessons all the time, nonstop.
But where'd the vocals come from? You guys said you guys have these
the dad thing, and the music thing just came from being in a band, playing music, playing in church.
Yeah.
That's kind of a way so many people.
Totally.
I mean,
you can level up quick.
There's no better musicians than gospel churches.
Yeah.
Those guys are the ultimates of all musicians, and they're the ones playing with Beyonce. They're the ones playing with Katy Perry. They're playing with everyone. Wow. Those are the guys.
Yeah.
And they grew up in church learning.
Playing every week, practicing every week. Yeah.
Church is where you just you stop thinking about chords and you stop thinking about the things and you just play because you get in more of a flow state because you're I can't think about what these chords are.
Totally.
Truth be told, the churches I grew up, we weren't playing groundbreaking music, Handel's Messiah kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back to that.
Pentecostal church?
No, Baptist, where dancing was
okay or not okay?
Forbidden.
Ooh, forbidden.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a quick story, but it's pretty hilarious. My prom of my, I think junior year or senior year.
Yes.
My dad,
Ricky prom suit. I love this.
My dad asked if I was going to dance, and I was like, "No, Dad. Well, I won't do that. I would never do such a thing." And so that night we went hog wild, and then the next day he asked me, or maybe 2 days later, he's asked me you didn't dance? And I was like, gosh, that's just a weird question. No, I didn't dance. And he pulled out the front page of Dallas Morning News.
Yes.
And I was and my suit was torn.
Oh, I love it. Oh, dude.
And so I got in really bad trouble. He was like, it wasn't because you danced, it's because you lied to me. I was like, well, you kind of tricked me.
Oh, I love it.
So, yeah, I mean, I grew up in that environment. You don't dance, you don't drink, you don't think about either of those things. Yeah. And what else? But honestly, I'm really grateful for it. I think it was a great, place to kind of I don't know, it's just the family that I grew up with was a huge family. I didn't have 5 people in my family. I had 400.
Wow.
We just kind of lived there, kind of a situation.
A tribe.
Yeah, and I like people more than I like music, and I love music. And so the relationships are so deep. That's my favorite thing about church, to be honest.
Yeah.
More than anything in church.
People.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you guys at a young age, teenagers flying to Nashville, sitting down with singer-songwriters, and they're teaching you, just in the process of writing with them, you're learning the process of writing. And at some point, I remember way back, I think early when I was talking with you guys, I think you guys were already writing jingles. I think you were, I don't know, I think I talked to you, I don't know if it was TV shows or commercials or what, but you were already, this got to be early 20s or whatever. And you guys were doing the band, and then also we're just writing music all the time. Now, writing thousands of songs, you're kind of talking about the magic that takes place and when everything clicks. And what is that? I guess, what is that in a musician? When you're listening to them sing, or you're watching them sing a song that they've written that there's the magic is there. What is that? What is the nucleus? What is the center of that place? Because you got a lot of great musicians and you have a lot of great maybe poets, but for the magic to come together, where the lyrics connect with the feel of the music and it actually changes the environment of the room. Everybody knows it's do something different?
Yeah, I think if anyone knew the answer to that specifically, I would have bought into Bitcoin in 2012 and had so much money I wouldn't know what to do with it. But I will say, I'm diamond handsing. No, I'm kidding.
No, I know.
Okay,
you're a hodler. Yeah,
yeah. I lost so much money. It's ridiculous.
Bitcoin's up, baby. 60K today.
That's right.
Yeah.
No one ever asked for my advice on finances, but I'm really good at losing large amounts of money. Basically, I'll say this. I think, and I don't want to bash where we're at musically right now in terms of like Christian
what
music.
has happened?
Well, I'll say this.
I can say it. What has happened?
I'll say what's so amazing about the Bob Dylans and I don't know, just so many artists is that there's just this authenticity. The Nick Drakes, there's this, they're pouring from their own stories, and their own emotions. And that, I think that's part of the tie. You have an emotional tie and you have a storyline, these Johnny Cash things where you're just, and that's one of the reasons why people love country music is because they love stories.
Yeah.
But I think people are longing. So think about this. And auto-tune and, everyone pulling from the same things and using the same things is kind of homogenizing music right now. But and beautiful stuff's coming out of it, obviously, because now anyone can sing their songs because they can just auto-tune their vocals and they can do all these things. It still takes a lot of talent and that rises to the top of what we're listening to on the charts. But I will say, I think a lot of what we're missing is that story, and like, so if you think about how sacred this is, from the time you were a baby, what did you grow up listening to?
My dad is a worship leader in a Pentecostal church, so.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So, all old songs, man. He's grand piano, Casio. He was trained on an organ. And, so that's what I grew up hearing.
Southern California?
Southern California, yep.
Yeah.
And then, my mom sang too. And, all my family, we all play instruments, but, one cassette that we had growing up, that story goes, my mom passed when I was 6. She's not around anymore, but story goes, my mom walked up with a cassette player at a live concert, walks up to a guy on a piano named Keith Green and says, "Can I record this concert?" And she recorded the live concert on that cassette tape, and we had it. And so me and my brothers, I didn't know who Keith Green was, but as a kid, I was washed in all of his lyrics and all of his piano playing and all that stuff. And so, that was kind of our hit stuff. And then, probably up to like junior high, like that's what I was always listening to. Then we got a little radio, and then, 102.7, 99.1, and, all the different stuff showed up. But that's my musical upbringing.
Well, I think if you're
classic rock, my dad's stuff. Yeah.
See, well, what's so interesting is I think when an artist is just made up of all their parts and being able to express it. A true artist is the one that tells the story of their life and their experience. And to me, what's so amazing is if you grew up on gospel music, but then you fell in love with like soul music, and then you moved from Tennessee to Detroit, and or the East Coast, and you're listening to Biggie, and then all of a sudden you go to the West Coast and you're listening to Snoop, and you create this whole thing that no one else in the entire universe has ever had in terms of their musical lineage. And then you have every experience of your entire life, every emotion of your entire life, and I think the true artists are able to just be able to create from their story. And what's kind of unfortunate right now is like there are these boxes that everyone's trying to fit in and saying, well, this is what works in the church, and this is what works on the radio, and I need to like kind of fit in that box to be able, And I think, and I don't want to bash any. I do it, but I think what I long for is just for people to create from their authentic self. And that's the stuff I think that really becomes legacy artist type stuff. Those are the ones that are just like, I can feel that this was just out of left field and so different. And I hope that going in the future, going forward, you know, record execs are signing more artists that are doing that, I would love, I'm developing an artist I'm really excited about who I think does that. And he just writes from where he's at. And
can you drop his name, or you got to hold it? That's all right. You can hold it.
No, I think people should know him.
Yeah,
but we haven't released anything yet, so we may have to cut this. But his name is Christian Hohn, Hohn, and he is unbelievable. His voice is just gritty. He's one of the kindest guys I've ever met, but I found him on the internet singing a song I had written, and the way he sang, it's a song I wrote for with Phil Wickham called "It's Always Been You," and one day I was like, I wonder who's singing that, because everyone does covers, and I heard him singing it, and it blew my mind. It was like, I don't want to say like, it sounded like Morgan Wallen like belting out like, but different, and he's gritty and soulful. He loves Jesus like crazy. It's so, we've been getting him out to Nashville to write, and he's really special.
It's awesome.
But I feel like there are artists that have stories to tell, and then we get into sessions, and I'll say this: my favorite thing to do with artists, instead of saying, well, what do you need for your record? You need a hit single. Everyone needs that.
Right.
But it's just, I would rather talk like this for like an hour and be like, what are you going through? What are you reading? What are you afraid of? Like, just talk. And then when it's time to write, you're like, now we're writing from the story, and I'm just trying to serve this artist, like, and try to give them some, guidelines and support and lyrical, musical, inspiration, and say let's go, because I like those songs stand the test of time. I think if they're real. I have songs like that I'm really proud of, and I have songs that I hope no one ever hears, because I'm like, I kind of gave into the monster, and I was just trying to like write a #1 CCM single, and it felt icky. And I know there are some amazing singles that do come out. Like, there's a lot of good music out there.
Totally.
A lot of great artists.
Yeah. But something has definitely happened to the music industry, or just it's almost, I parallel it with what's happened to the movie industry. It almost seems like money has taken over, in that like you just look back on the last, like, whatever, 5 years, even maybe more. It's just like, where are all the good movies? Like, why they just stop out of nowhere? And it's almost like the equation has been dialed, and it's like, this plus this equals mega money. Yeah. And so we need to do this plus this and repeat process, and we're going to make bucks. Yeah. You got a great story, bud. We like what you're doing there, but that's just not selling. I'm sorry. Yeah. We got to make $1 trillion on a movie now. Or $1 billion on a movie now. We're not into this, like $5 million stuff. Like, we need some real money. So it's like Marvel, over and over, which is great. It's like there's a place for it. There's a genre for it, but you're not going to see Shawshank Redemption all over again. You're not going to see Schindler's List. This stuff isn't going to happen anymore, because it's this, something has happened, and what's happened to the movie industry almost seems to parallel what's happened. I don't know. It's almost like, Christian music maybe found a lane in which the majority of people would like tap their foot to this thing, and we kind of saw it work, and it, sells out places, and it does things. And so it's like, before you know it, it just slowly starts to mold and shape, and then everybody gets locked in that. And then the artist who's like actually super good and talented, like they don't have a platform. Yeah. No one will entertain it. And we need somebody to break this thing back open, and like, let's get like, where are the Keith Greens, where are these,
I think they're there, and I think some of them are on the radio, but I think it's going to change in the next 15 years with blockchain, and you know, as much as everyone is connected at this point, you know, that
I see.
you know, the situation of having to feed through these particular
I see.
entities and sources so you can be allowed to sit at the table. I think that that's probably going to go away in the next 10 to 20 years significantly, and it's going to be more the choice of people. I do think it's probably through something like blockchain. Someone's going to come up with some kind of a, you know, I shouldn't probably say this because if I thought of it, then someone's going to think of it. But no, but I think it should happen. But someone coming up with like these, you know, platforms where to listen to new music, and then, you know, a lot of people are hearing it, and people are getting paid in a way that's much more fair and, you know, more like the 70s instead of now, where no one, you know, you're making percentages of a penny. I think smart contracts might help with that, to be honest with you, you know, and all of a sudden be like, I want that song, and then you get the song, you know. That's kind of the beauty of Web3. What if it like revolutionizes Christian music? I'm not joking.
Totally.
So like, regardless, like I would say, I think God's favorite music is probably from kids. Like, truthfully, because like, what do we read in the Psalms? Like, the pure in heart is what he desires. Like he desires like this, like purity. And so I think this innocence that comes from kids just saying, I love you, God, I love you, God. Like, those are probably the hits of heaven. Like, and whenever I hit this point where I realized I don't want to get to the other side. Whatever that looks like, I think it's going to be very different than any of us could ever imagine. And be one of the guys that used God's name for money. Like, I don't want to look at the angels and then be like, oh, yeah, he's one of the ones that try to profit off of God's holiness. I'm like, no. And I think that's the last. I would rather be anything else than that. That's terrifying to me. So it's a really hard thing because I have to check my spirit every time I write a worship song and be like, what's my motivation? Like, because, you know, I do need things in the marketplace and all that stuff, you know, but it's just like, no, I can't have that. It's just like, I don't want to be that guy. So, I really think there's something. This is sacred. It's like the most important thing I think that I could ever do. And I just got to go in with a heart to say, like, I just want to connect with Jesus. I want people to be able to connect with Jesus. This is literally the music that's becoming a soundtrack for other people to say their prayers.
Right.
You know, it's the biggest deal in the world to me, in terms of like, besides being a husband and a father, and this is my life's work. And, so yeah, I think there's so many different ways to do it, but I will say that what's interesting is what I would love to see if I ever had a label like that. I was,
please do it.
I would literally
please do
have
it.
so many. I would love different genres, and one of them would be just like the sound of the ocean and people playing on the beach, and that would make me worship. I would just be like, oh, I would play that while I'm making food in the kitchen, and I'd just be like, that just soothed my heart because. And this is the litmus test for me. If it gives me anxiety, it's probably like not, and it's not soothing my heart. I'm not saying it's not soothing God's heart, but that's when I know something's off there. If it gives me peace, it's kind of like, you know, David and Saul, he would soothe his heart. You know, like when music is soothing your heart, that to me is worship. And my goal with music is to say, I want to bless the heart of God. And I want to soothe hearts, you know. You know, there's time for like dancing and having a blast, but it's got to feel good. It can't feel fake.
Yes.
And it's got to be authentic. And so a lot of my songs become the last songs on people's records.
No,
they're very soothing. No,
the first song I ever learned, my brother taught me. I'm a freshman in high school. My dad bought me an acoustic guitar in Olympia. And first song he teaches me, D, A, E minor, G, A, heart of worship. I'm coming back to the heart of worship when it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord. I'm sorry, Lord, for the things I've made it. And it is a hard pull now, isn't it? Because when part of your profession and or part of your pay is tied to the thing that is causing people to draw close to God. I mean, we talk about this extensively, you know, this balance between,
That's what I was going to say, is all the B word.
you know, between, you know, what works, you know, what is going to, trying to measure what works. And I got into a conversation with one of the brothers on the podcast a few weeks ago. We were trying to measure fruit, you know, and talking about measuring fruit. Like, and you had said, you know, the hits in heaven are the ones that the kids sing, you know? And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't work on the radio or whatever, but it's like, but it works in heaven, you know, and like God's pleased. And like, and I don't know, I'm interested to explore that more, because I see this too in my kids, man. They're not influenced by money. They're not influenced by what people think. They're not influenced by whether it's a hit or not. They are the purest, most innocent, just want to bless God. That's what's so beautiful about kids, is that they pull you back into that childlike faith. Like, they pull you right into it, and you get to see through their eyes, and you get to experience them, and they will pull you right back to the heart of worship. They're literally, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, we sing "Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so." And sometimes we'll be in public, you know, and Shepherd, my boy Sheppy, he'll just go off. He just starts singing in public, and I'm like, kind of like, son, you know, we're chanting, you know, "Jesus love me" in this store or whatever. He's just going for it, but it's like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
We know adults going to be chanting that in Home Depot. You know, it's like not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But these kids, they are speaking the language of the kingdom. They are speaking the language of heaven, and they don't care. And there's a magic in there. There's something. I love that you said that.
Well, you asked about balance, and I think the only way someone like yourself, myself, can balance that is to stay confessed. And Dave is really clear about this whole confession thing, and that it being consistent. And, you know, I think I go through seasons of saying, I'm going to confess every single day to you, Lord. You know, and there's times where I'm like, not going to let you into this room. You know, I'm going to hold on to this one for a while. Especially the old ones that like you grow up with, that you're just like, you kind of give away. And then when you crack it open again, you're like, not ready to confess this one. It's too shameful, you know, it's too embarrassing, you know. It's like a dog returning to vomit. It's like, am I going to go through this again? You know, and I've been down this road. How many times can I confess? But it's so important, because if we don't, then literally it's like a weight on our shoulders. And I feel like the difference with kids, and I literally think that becomes like, it's like a disease for us. But I could tell you the story later, but I did have a moment where 10 years ago, where I literally fell in love with Jesus for the first time, but it came at a great cost. It cost me everything. And because of, allowing, proclivities and probably stuff in my DNA and all these things, and then situations and abuse turning into addictions. And then it's on me, and I'm culpable for those, and just my life getting completely destroyed. And then I just confession is a process, right? It's not like a one-time thing, you're one and done. It's like you learn about it in AA. There's people to go, and I need to ask for forgiveness to them. Scripture is even clear, like go ask them for forgiveness first, then come to me. I think what's different about kids is they're so pure. And this will be controversial for some people, because they're like, no, you're born evil. I have a different take on that. Yeah. And I don't, this is just me personally. Yeah. Not, saying it's the views of my, of everyone at my church or those kind of things. But sure. I think the purity of heart of children is so beautiful. Yes. And I was at a school with my son earlier this morning, and I'm one of the parent-teacher helpers once a week, because we're hippies, and it's that kind of school. Love it. These kids are innocent, and they're so beautiful, and they're so sweet. And watching them sit on the swing, I watched two of them just lock eyes, and for 2 minutes, they didn't look away. And I was like, are you guys okay? What's going on? They're just two souls seeing each other. And let me explain myself with this. So I think the worship is so pure. you know, everyone's like, well, we're filthy rags, we're born sinful, all that. Yep, it's gotten way out of hand in my mind. When Jesus, or when God created, which, you know, created through Jesus, when God created Adam, and he said it's good, right? You know, and then he says it's the actual word is teleos. He says it's good, meaning it's perfect. Like our soul, where does it come from? It's God. You know, like it came from God. I think there's perfection there, absolute perfection. The fall didn't happen till after that, you know? So I think when it comes to our sinful nature, it's not the deepest part of us. It's like we're always trying to say we're evil to the core. No, I don't think so. Our core is perfection. It's literally God. But it's like this thing of when if you tell your you know, your child, you're bad, they're gonna live into it. But it's like, but no, you're meant to be a prince. You're meant to be a king ultimately.
Yes.
You know, you're meant to be a priest.
Yes.
That's what you were created to be.
Right.
And so yes, we have a sin nature, but this whole filthy rags, all that kind of stuff is that's Genesis 2.
Right.
Genesis 1 is the perfection story.
Right.
And I think if we started telling people more about like, this is who you are made to be, not like you're so bad, you're so, you know, disgusting.
Yep.
Instead of saying you were made to be, you're a child of God. Do you not know your inheritance?
Right.
Do you not know?
Right.
And, you know, I think there's a lot of nuance and debate there and all that kind of stuff, and I understand it, but I would love to see more of that, saying like, inspiring people to know that they were made from perfection, from the God of the universe.
Yes.
This is the one who created you.
Yes.
That's your dad. Like, your dad's not the slumlord.
Yes.
You know? And if you know that, like, so for instance, like, I always felt like I was undisciplined, like, and I still am in a lot of ways. And I was like, man, I'm just not disciplined. And I remember one time thinking about it, it was like, man, I just don't think I'll ever. And my dad has run, I would look on my phone, but I think the last time I looked, he's almost run 10 years in a row, every single day. He hasn't missed a day. It doesn't matter if he's on a boat or if he's in an airport in Amsterdam or he has COVID. He still runs at least a mile, but normally like 4.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'll find it in a second, but it's like almost 10 years. And I'm like, man, I want to be like that, but I don't have it. And I remember one time I was meditating and just spending time with the Lord, and I was like, God, I just can't get discipline. And it's just not for me. And he was like, it's like an inheritance thing. And he goes, who do you know more disciplined than your father? And I was like, no one. He was like, well, that's your own flesh and blood. That's yours for the taking if you want it. If you'll plant the flag on that and actually do it, you can take it. You know, it's like that far and away thing. And I think literally all the gifts of God are for us if we want them. Like, he's literally in abundance if you want them. But we're unwilling to plant our flags because we don't feel like we're worthy. We don't feel we're capable. All those kind of things. We're worthy because of Jesus. Jesus, like, that's the only reason. But the kingdom is ours. It's ours, our inheritance. And it's just this whole thing of like, I don't know how I got off on that subject, but it's just this whole thing of like understanding that I want people to know that their inheritance is heaven and in perfection, and that's what they were made from, and that's what they were made for.
Yes.
And yeah, people already know they're disgusting and bad.
Yeah.
They don't need to be reminded every day.
No, it's good. I was going to say to the Pharisee who thinks he's perfect, Jesus would show him the law and say, "Nope.
Yeah.
You're actually a filthy sinner like the ones that you're making fun of over there."
Yeah.
He condemns the Pharisee and he brings him low because the Pharisee says, "I'm perfect."
Yeah.
And Jesus is like, "No, you're not." And he brings him low. But to the sinner who is broken, who knows, I'm a mess, he shows them, I'm going to make you whole. There's a sanctification process that we're on. I am making you holy.
Glory to glory.
Yes, you are king, you are prince, like you are my son, you're my daughter. And that is, you're right. We forget that we came from perfection and that we are going to perfection. We forget that we came from the garden and we're going back to the garden.
Yeah. And sorry, I don't want anyone who's tuning in to go like, "Ooh, that's heresy," and they can. I don't care. But like,
no,
honestly,
I get what you're saying.
I don't want to. We can't. That's not the. There's a middle of the story.
Yes.
There's a beginning and there's an end.
Yes.
And the middle is this skin I've been given and this brain I've been given, and I'm culpable for most of it, not all of it, because I think there's like a lot in the DNA, like literally these proclivities of my forefathers that are literally I have when I go to counseling. He's like, "Oh, yep, that's from your family lineage."
Right.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right.
So, but at the same time, I'm culpable for my own actions.
Yes.
And I've lived out the sin is death. I've lived it out in the sense that, like, you want to take a sin far enough, well, you're going to die.
Right.
Literally.
Right.
In any one of them. And it's not just the 7 deadly sins, but I think it kind of like makes it a little bit more palpable with those.
Right.
But I mean, the problem with it is like, yes, I agree that everyone is a sinner.
Right.
1,000%.
Right.
But I'm just saying that's not where we come from.
And you don't need to speak that over people, especially those who know that they're broken and sinful. And back to your point with kids, it's like we don't need to speak death over them. And, they'll find out very quickly that they can choose wrong and they can find themselves in trouble. But at the end of the day, they are pure. And there is something innocent and magical about them that hits every adult. You see a little baby, a little 2-3-year-old walking around, it just like...
You're like, that evil baby.
No, yeah, right.
Disgusting baby.
No, it's like, that's the thing. There's something, it's like looking into the face of God. There's something special in there. There's something pure and innocent. They have not been... And David, when he lost his baby, when he fasted and prayed, for that baby, and the baby died. And after Bathsheba, it says, the baby cannot come back to me, but I'll go to that child. Yeah, that child walked right into heaven. And there is an innocence locked in these kids. Before I had kids, I didn't see babies. I didn't see them anywhere. I didn't even know they were there. Sure, people bring babies up to me, but I never notice. Now that I got kids, dude, I see a kid, I'm like, I instantly just am drawn to this little person, they're special. And until they become teenagers, right, Dave? And then they, but when they're little, man, there's something, there's something magical about them, and they say the sweetest things, and they Eden, my firstborn, my little girl, she reminds me of the garden, brings me back to the garden, and I'll be with her at night, and she'll be going to bed, and she tells me these things, okay, we're gonna pray, we pray. When can I go see Jesus? Well, we're gonna, maybe he'll come visit you in a dream tonight. No, but I want to really see him. Like, Daddy, when can I see an angel? She confesses like all of these powerful things, which I can't even explain to her as a pastor. I'm just like, God, can you help this child? Like, I can't even explain to her how she wants to see you now. Can you make that happen? And I'm theologically, like, I'm trying to,
to deduce, like,
how do I explain to a child, that like, and it's like, no, but she like purely believes this, like with all of her heart, and there is no hesitation. Mm-hmm. And that is the faith of a child, which moves me and breaks me, over and over again. And,
there's a beauty there. Like I remember, with my son, I love the ocean. It's actually how he got his name. But river, we were talking about it earlier, but the idea that, the ocean is like a picture of God, it's a manifestation of his glory, really, of his own creativity.
It is.
And all those things, I think everything we see is a reflection of him, in the sense of the original, the Eden, which is unbelievable. It's so beautiful. And but the ocean specifically, I'm talking space too, and we can talk about space for hours. I'm obsessed with neuroscience and astrophysics and all the kind of things, because when I found Jesus, I started realizing I've been asleep. I'm living in this beautiful world, completely asleep. I'm telling you, after I literally gave him my heart and said, I'm all yours. I don't know who or what you are, but it says, seek me and you'll find me. Knock on the door will be open. I just poured through scriptures and poured through everything. And then they started revealing himself to me as what's his name? The Passion Pastor.
Yes. Louis.
He always talking about God as a they. Let's create man and woman in our image. So started revealing themselves to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm surrounded in glory. Like, look, I could look at a tree for an hour and just be mesmerized, because I've been asleep for 25 years.
Totally.
No joke. Maybe 30 years. Completely asleep.
Keith Green. Like waking up from the longest dream, how real it seemed until your love broke through. I was lost in a fantasy until your love broke through.
Whoa, I don't know that lyric. That's incredible.
Dude. Like a foolish dreamer trying to build a highway to the sky, all my hopes would come crumbling down, and I never knew just why until today, when you pulled away the clouds that hung like curtains in my eyes. Wow. I was blind all these wasted years, and I thought I was so wise until you took me by surprise. Like waking up from the longest dream, how real it seemed until your love broke through. Yeah, dude. That's what I hear, like when you're like doing all this.
Yeah, my brother, he came out one day, and I was in the grass on my hands and knees looking at this little underworld of insects and plants and grass, and amazed that it was being fed by the sun, and the earth was ancient, and I was looking at it like I was watching a movie, and like worshiping, going, it makes me a little teary. I was like,
it's powerful.
I'm crying about ants. Like, I was amazed at the beauty of what he had created.
Yes.
Yeah, you just look around and you're like, it's stunning.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to lose it.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
I mean, everything works so beautifully together. And, you're just like, how did I miss this? You think about the word teleos, and it's good, it's good, it's good, it's like perfect. The image they use is an apple, where you have a seed, and it comes from a tree, and you're like, chicken or egg, I don't know, but like, it literally goes into the ground after you eat it, into the earth, and then it grows another tree, which creates apples that you eat, go into the ground, creates another tree. So the apples we eat are these descendants of the ancients in Eden. And the same for everything we have around us.
Love it.
And as you start to like look around at Earth, you have all these teleos things. Think about us, as human beings. It's teleos. It can go forever and nothing can stop it. Like God, that's the creativity of God. And as soon as I stopped doing drugs, stopped being like a complete addict, and my mind could actually focus on him, and I was absorbing the scripture and read about Solomon. I think he probably cried about looking at all the ants and all the things and just like being obsessed with the beauty of God's creativity and learning from it. Like, what can I learn from these things? It's like Einstein saying, if you're bored, it just means you're not paying attention. But anyway, back to the ocean, I'll say that. It's like this, it's kind of a teleo situation where you're just like, I'm seeing these, the waves are even generated based on these gravitational pulls of the sun and the moon. And then you have, all the, like we learn now, if like one species dies, it hurts all the other ones because they're completely dependent upon one another. And you can go deep into like how the independent relationships of certain species and how they've been going on for how long. And then you look at, so that the not only the perfection of the way it's all working together, but you look at, if you're out in the middle of the ocean, I can't imagine anything more terrifying. Anything. There's nothing more terrifying to me.
The best.
But if it's calm and you're on a surfboard or you're on the beach, there's nothing more peaceful in the entire world, I believe, than the ocean. And you're sitting there just like in it. And to me, it's a picture of God. And I want my son to know who his heavenly Father is, who the one that really made him, who started this whole game, this simulation. I'm just kidding. So we're obviously in the mind of God, but God's playing out this story.
Yes.
And we're in it.
He is.
So I want him to know where he came from. And so, but all the great rivers run to the ocean. So I wanted to name him River. And my second son's name actually Kai, which is ocean, after his grandfather. But I honestly, I think there's so much beauty to behold, and I fall back asleep. David says we live in the land of forgetfulness. How many times do I fall back asleep?
Land of forgetfulness.
Yeah.
In the country of forgetfulness.
In the country of forgetfulness. I have a friend that actually, he went to Fuller Seminary, and he had a professor invite someone to come from Africa, and it was going to come speak at the seminary. And when he landed at LAX and they drove to the seminary, he said he had never experienced spiritual like heaviness like he was experiencing on that drive from LAX to Pasadena. He said it was so thick, he just feel like an oppression, like he'd never felt. And it's true. It's like we're being duped. We're completely being almost like forced by the gravity of all the weight of all this darkness to literally just numb out, like scroll out. And I know this is a conversation you probably have with everyone, but it's specifically in America. You read about these, spiritual forces in the scriptures that are over certain areas.
Right.
Where is that?
Yeah, like Daniel talks about, what is it? It was it's a demon that was ruling over
Prince of Persia.
Prince of Persia. Yes, yeah. That's it.
Right. And it's like, well, it couldn't go over there because I was battling there for a while.
The archangel had to fight him to get to,
What the heck is that all about?
Right.
It means, I think, that there's almost like dominions. We know about over certain things that have certain kind of flavors and pulls. And one of them, I think, in America is just like this obsession with the self, obsession with wealth, obsession with comfort, obsession with identity, and it's so heavy that it's literally like snuffing out any oxygen, and so we live in this free country, and there's so much beauty if you drive through it, and it's like this poverty of spirit, because we're just completely oppressed. And so for me, I can't tell you how many times I've fallen asleep since all my like beautiful moments of awakening. And I just fall back asleep because I'm overwhelmed. And I think that's what's so powerful about having a practice, just to try to stay awake, that idea of confession and doing all, we don't talk about it much in church, but like self-care type stuff. Like, what do you need to do to stay awake? Spending time with your family, meditating. One of my mentors calls it temple time. He's like, you need some serious temple time.
I like that.
Yeah. And he's like, get into a closet and light a candle. And I spent like 2 years, in a closet when I was seeking God out, just kind of like reading. I'll tell you this really quick, but I had a man look at me and he said, "Oh, you're dangerous." I was in his house, and he said, You're addicted to pleasure, so you're not safe around me and my family." He's like, "And you came from a holy man." And he prayed for such a huge umbrella of blessing for you that God answered your father's prayers, because he hears the prayers, and answers those of the righteous. He hears prayers of the righteous. He hears every prayer, but I think it's more symbiotic.
Sure.
Right? So he really blessed that prayer, and he goes, so you had this huge protection, but then every man has to, be culpable for their own actions. And you came out from that, and now you're dealing with all of, the retribution that you deserve. And he said, you unlearn the faith your father taught you. And he said, you need to start in Revelation, because you need a revelation of God and work your way backwards in Scripture. And so, it's really beautiful, because I literally started in Revelation, which you would think is the hardest place to start. But I wept my way through that book, and just like God opening his heart, and then working my way backwards. And at some point I met Jack Hayford. Do you know him?
Yeah. He's here in the Valley, Church on the Way.
He just passed.
Yes.
But he was kind enough to take me under his wing, and he gave me his Bible that he had, done his own version of.
Wow.
And I just kind of devoured it. And I'll say like that, and all these people around me were encouraging me, like, just get into the quiet place and just read Scripture and just talk with God. I didn't even know what that looked like. But it's not a one-way thing. I always thought, I'm just going to pray for things, like God's a genie and rub on it.
Right.
And then he's going to answer my prayers.
Right.
But I had no idea that like God actually speaks, and we were created, these God minds that he gave us, to actually hear him and to see him and to be guided. And I'm talking miraculous Pentecostal stuff was happening to me in that closet, where I was just like, literally, and you could say I was crazy, but it's the best time of my life. Having conversations with God and him just like revealing himself. And I didn't even know what the Holy Spirit was until I got to that part of the Bible. I knew about it, but I was like, I had no clue that it was Ruach hovering over the waters,
Right.
Right.
So there's this Francis Chan message I just listened to. It just came out like a month ago. And he's at this conference, and he's just talking about, like, he first steps on the stage, and he's like, the stage is like drinking poison. You have to be careful, as you sip on this, because like we're not made for this, and he proceeds to chip away at this getting alone with God, the solitary place of like knowing him. And he quotes Matthew 1:35, which is a verse that John Corson taught us in the desert. I'd never heard it before. It says, Jesus woke up early before the sun rose, went to a solitary place, and there he prayed. And this is the formula, like for Jesus, like that's the secret sauce to his whole ministry, is running from the crowds, being quiet with his Father, into a solitary place before the sun rose. No one's there. His disciples aren't there. Nobody's there. It's just him and the Lord. And John, when I was there, I'm 22, he would send us off into the deserts of Mexico, just over and over. Just go, guys, go pray, go talk to the Lord, go. Here's your journal. Just go write. Just go. And you're either going to go like kick dirt and, stare at things. You're going to start talking to God. And I have these moments, Ricky, like where I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I can't even share them with people, because like I have these moments with Jesus. Like I'm out there by myself, I'm writing and I'm experiencing the Lord, but it sounds crazy, like people don't, but God is meeting me there by myself, like out in this place. I had this rock. It looks like an altar. It was one solid rock with one slab on top of it. And I climb on top of this thing. I put this blanket down on top of it. I sit there. It overlooks the valley. I would just sing to the Lord like by myself, and I would open the scriptures and I would just listen, and I just write, and I just pray over my family, pray over different things, and just be there by myself. And it's the place, it's the Garden of Eden for me. Like that is the place I've been trying to get back to for 20 years. Like, because I got all this, I got all this stuff around me that clouds, like I want the pure relationship with the Lord. Like I'm constantly trying to get back to it. And so when I heard this message from Chan just like a month ago, I shared it with all the brothers. And he one thing that hit, like he says, you're talking about confession. He says, the scriptures say that we should be confessing, openly. We should be confessing to God. And he's like, when's the last time, on Instagram, we see like this open confession, about what's going on between us and God. And he said, instead, Jesus says to do good works in secret. He's like, when's the last time you just did something good for somebody in secret and just loved on them and no one ever knew about it? No one will ever know about it. But instead we post our good works.
Yeah.
You know, we declare to the world our great works before God. And Chan's just like, he's just doing this reverse, you know, thing. He's like just going backwards. And Jesus, you know, he impacted the whole earth in 3 years, but he was running from the crowds. I mean, like this guy, it's reverse. The kingdom is upside down and backwards. It's all, and I do, like, you're hitting the heartbeat, I think, of this generation. We've had so much, like, you know, we're so ingrained in this social media and we're so ingrained in this outward that, yeah, like so much inward is so messed up. And it's like, we don't have any solitaire, you know, even the game you think about is by myself playing that. Like there is no like quiet focus of just me and the Lord and really spending time and reflecting on what's going on. And to your point, we're asleep, or we're all of this stuff sedates us like away from experiencing the rich colors of the world and like what's going on around us. And I love adding this third commandment, third and greatest commandment: love God, love people, and please enjoy the earth that I've given you. Please, like I've given you the playground.
Yeah.
Like get on enjoying life. And Christians sometimes like miss this, dude. They're like, what is most stale people on the planet? Like, where's the oil of gladness? You know, like,
yeah, we sit at the right hand of God. Like or it says, in his presence is a fullness of joy.
Fullness of joy.
Yeah,
like get on
don't sit at the right hand of God, but there is fullness of joy. Yeah,
and we should be enjoying the earth, enjoying Him. And Jesus was anointed with the oil of gladness. He had a blast with the boys. You know, he was enjoying the earth. He was pointing out all the cool stuff going on, and our kids force us to do that. The king, again, right before, it's like, Daddy, come play. Daddy, come, you know, do it. Daddy, you know, and it's like, I got all these sedated things I have to get back to. And, you know, we need responsibility. We need discipline. All that stuff's important. But you're right. Like a whole generation is like locked in this lane, and like they need to be like broken free to get back to seeking the Lord in a quiet place, in a secret place, genuine, authentic relationship, and then enjoying the earth around them, enjoying their family, enjoying their tribe, enjoying, you know, the real stuff.
I love that so much. I mean, my favorite poet says, you have one wild and precious life. What are you going to do with it? And I'll read you the poem at some point, but like it's on the inside of my wedding ring. And it's literally says, you know, what will you do with, you got one, what are you going to do? Like this idea of like seeking Him first is our first love, and serving Him and enjoying it. Like John Piper, he has a thing on Christian hedonism. Yeah. And he's like, there's nothing, we were created like with this deep desire in us. And actually there's nothing more hedonistically beautiful than just saying like to live in the presence of, like, to live in His courts, to be with Him. Like, it's like, I get chill bumps thinking about it. It's like, it's the ultimate humanity. It's what we were created for. It's like pure joy. I actually remember one time he
says, in God commanding us to glorify Him, He is inviting us to enjoy Him forever.
Yeah.
This is Piper.
Yeah. I love that. He literally, like this idea of, you know, just being in tandem with the same one that's holding every cell and, you know, nano together. There's no higher joy. And I remember one time I literally had when I was in this state of just pure, you know, seeking the Lord in every way and no hidden place, is the best time of my life. And I'm still trying to get back to that purity of heart and that place where it's just because I had more time. I didn't have kids and, you know, but like, I remember one time I had a really bad neck injury and I spent 2 weeks in the hospital and it was one of the best 2 weeks of my life. I had a neck surgery and I was just in the hospital, like high on the Holy Spirit, literally high. And just everyone that came in the room, I wanted to share love with them. And I was just in prayer and just spending time. And I'm like, I want to get back to that, you know, instead of being so ruled by my circumstances. Because, you know, like they said, the land of forgetfulness. I'm trying to remember what we were touching on, because there's something I wanted to say. Oh, I think one of the beauties of even having this ability to walk with God is to explore who He is. And I think we're bored because we're not, you know? And it is the whole seek me and you'll find me thing. And there's, you know, these angels in heaven that have all these eyes all over them, and says that God will reveal His glory to them, and then they fall and just like wonder and awe. And then He in His mercy, He like picks them back up, and then He shows them another glory, and then they fall. And this is like going on perpetually, of just like revelation upon revelation. Like, because obviously when do you get the end of God? We're talking about.
You don't, yeah.
You never do.
Never.
And so I remember one night I was in Haiti, and I was just seeking with all my heart, which is like, I'm praying that this next generation, and my starting with me and us, that's just like to be seekers. Like I'm honestly, I won't even a lot of times say I'm a Christian to people, because it comes with so many negative connotations at this point. I'll just say, I'm a Jesus lover, I'm a Jesus seeker, I'm a Jesus follower. Because you know how fast that'll end a conversation with someone.
Sure.
Just be like, there's a lot of trappings. That doesn't mean I subscribe to all the politics or the views or conspiracy theories or whatever you want to say. You know, like, I follow Jesus.
Right.
And so I remember one night I was in Haiti, and I went to sleep, and I said, I don't want to be away from you. I don't want to be alone. And I just remember feeling the Lord's like kind of like this thing on my spirit say like, when am I ever away from you? And I remember the scripture, like, where can I go from your presence? So I was like, okay, you're going to be here with me in my dream. I was like, well, if I'm here with you in this dream, when I fall asleep in a few minutes, will you show me something about you? And I just remember praying that prayer. And I don't get dreams and revelations very much. But that night I dreamt, and the power was out, you know, because the generator goes out at a certain time. That night I dreamt that I was... Do you want to hear this dream? Is it weird?
I want to hear it, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I
love this stuff. It's just like, yeah, I love it.
I mean, he speaks to people in dreams in the Bible.
He does. And he still does to this day. I got some dreams, changed my whole life.
Really?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Okay, I want to hear one.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll say, like, half the time I think I'm dreaming about, like, stuff, you know, I ate, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. And I think that there's stuff being worked out in the unconscious. But, but I was very specific about this prayer, and I want to pray it more, and I think more people should pray it. But just like, show me who you are in my dreams. And so I'm literally in this boat, not literally in the dream, in a boat, and someone's in there with me, and it's just this ocean, like, you know, and we're rowing out, and all of a sudden I see this giant sandcastle, and it's like bigger than any building on earth. It's massive. But it looks kind of like a Disney sandcastle a little bit. And we pull up to the rocks, and we climb up, and there's a door. And, you know, we walk through the door, and there's this room, and it's kind of like made known to me, like everything I believe is about to change. Like, because I believe a lot of things that aren't true about God. And this is just like, this is going to be one truth that you are going to know about God. And it's just like, I remember it took a while, almost like a riddle. And when it unlocked, I had this moment of like, I don't remember what the truth was about God, but it was just something perfect. Like nothing could ever penetrate it, stand against it. It's a forever thing. And I now know it. And I was like, wow. It was just, it's like my heart just exploded. And then a door opens, and I walk through another room. But this truth stays the same now that I know, and that's the only truth I know. But now we go into the next one. It's a bigger room, and that truth now fits like on this table. You know, and now I know this truth, and I know this truth, and they're so beautiful the way they weave together. And it's just like my mind's exploding and going through all these different rooms, and that keeps happening. But then I realize I'm a little worried because I'm noticing the doors behind me are shutting and I can't go back. And just going deeper and deeper and deeper, but purer and purer and purer, and I'm having to leave all these kind of things in the other rooms. Like I'm, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Like little vermin type things in like proclivities and stuff. I'm like, I can't leave it. I can't go into that room with this. So I had to like drop it and go into the next room. And going deeper, 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 deeper is the most beautiful dream of my life. And I remember, or one of them, and I remember going to this last door, and it opens up, and it's like Harry Potter style as far as you can see. Like those little mailbox, etc. boxes, you know, the little ones, like miles of those boxes, as high as I can see and as low as I can see, and it just goes until it's like out of my view. And so when I wake up, I was just like, Lord, I mean, I'm weeping. I woke up crying. I was just like, what was that? And I just felt immediately like I started asking questions. It's like, well, you asked to know me, the creator of the universe, yet you're a mortal man made of sand. That's the sandcastle. You know, just like me, I have many rooms. You have many rooms created in your image. And I want to reveal myself to you. I was like, who's the person with me? The Holy Spirit. You're not going to do this journey alone. God's literally going to guide me on it.
Yes.
And then I was like, what are all the little... And there's a lot of other questions and revelations, even just upon waking. But then I couldn't figure out what the mailboxes were. Strangely, you'd think I would now. But we went to a little Haitian church, and afterwards, everyone went to the van. They were going to go back where we were staying. And I just had this thing. I was like, I got to go ask this Haitian pastor. I got to tell him my dream that I had last night, which is really weird and awkward. But I went over and I told him the dream, and he said, every one of those little boxes is just another corridor, another room, another awakening of a reality of the nature of God.
Amazing.
And you're never going to stop. You're gonna be opening those doors forever. Just like those angels with it, you know. It's like even in heaven, you're just going to be opening up these doors, finding new glory upon glory upon glory, and just being like, everyone is like, you're infinitely better than I thought you were the last. And he goes, but one of those doors is that the God that you pray to suffers currently because he's so intertwined in every human life down to their thoughts, and people suffer, and he is currently suffering. And you pray to a God that fully understands, like, because Jesus walked it. And it's just, it blew my mind. And he said, no one suffers like the Haitian people. So he wants to show you that he is the God suffering with them. When you see someone suffering, God is suffering with them. It's like the story in Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, when you have, it's told Victor went to, he was in the concentration camps as a Jew in the concentration camps. And there's this one part of the story where they hang a little boy and another man for stealing bread. And the Nazi soldiers try to punish everyone and scare them by saying, you now need to go around in a circle and look these two who are hanging, their eyes wide open, look them in the eye and never do what they just did. And while they're in the line, Victor is standing next to someone, and they said, where is God in this? And he says, someone else says, I think you're looking at him right now, just looking in the eyes of this little boy that had been murdered. It's like literally God suffers with us. It blew my mind. What really blew my mind is after he told me, I realized that I didn't speak Creole and he didn't speak English. So I don't speak in tongues. How did that conversation happen?
Wow. Amazing.
I'm not joking.
Praise God.
It's just unbelievable. So that I've prayed for the gift many times, never gotten it, but full conversation.
Yeah. We have fellowship in his sufferings, and he is praying for us even now. He is, he's with us in the fire, and he's carrying us through, man. You know, I mean, I think so much of what you're saying is wrapped really in the journey of the Christian. You know, we start off with these, you know, upbringings in church and these wrappings of religion. And if I do good, I'm good. If I do bad, I'm bad. And if I, you know, we have all of these wrappings of religion, and it's the same thing. Like the older that I grow and the deeper I get into this relationship with the Lord, the more I see, I mean, how much he's after the heart. He's not entertained with our funny games of religion and trying to build, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Empires.
he's not, we can't help it. You know, we keep doing it. We keep building religion and the law over and over and over again. And it was just a schoolmaster to teach us, this is why you're broken. This is what perfection looks like. But we keep trying to build these systems and these ways. And the Lord breaks all of that down and pulls us right back to the heart of the issue. The Garden of Eden. I just want to know you. I just want you to enjoy me. I just want you to enjoy the people around you. I just want you to enjoy the earth I've given to you. It's real simple. And we got to build and do all these, you know, all these man things. And they are far from God. I love that you pointed out that we will explore and discover God forever, that this is heaven, that this is the wow factor. This is the off factor.
It's already begun. Yeah.
It's like, yes, it's already begun. And like, we're on the journey, we're discovering him now. And, we cross over, and then he just amplifies the whole thing. And it's like, now there's no sin, no darkness in the way. There's nothing stopping it. And now you just get to see the fullness. And this is day one.
Face to face.
Yeah. And like, here, let's go for 1,000,000 years, you know, and like, we're just getting started still, you know, but we get to, right. Yeah. But we get to do it with those that we love. We get to do it with on a new earth, you know, on a new place. And, I love this. Ricky, we've been going for a while. This is fun.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up so we can go get some lunch maybe.
Let's do it.
You're a worship leader now.
Well, I do have one thought to finish out what we just said.
Okay, bring it.
About everything we just talked about, I'll say this. You can tell me your dream later because I do want to hear it.
I will.
About everything we just talked about, it's like I'm reminded of Paul in when he's talking to the Corinthians. And he literally, this is the way I feel about all of this stuff. Because there's a lot of subjective stuff, you know? He says, I don't pretend to know anything other than Christ crucified. And that's, to me, that's where I'm at. I'm like, there's a lot of things I don't know. I'm living in this mystery. And we're called stewards of the mystery, but it's still a mystery. Like, there's a lot of things I don't know. And I'm really grateful to be his child. I just, at this point, I'm like, I just know that Jesus lived, died, and that's where I'm at, and I'm so grateful for that. Does that make sense? You know?
Yeah.
That's kind of my ethos at this point with all this stuff.
I asked John Corson this a long time ago. I was like, John, there's like so many theologians, there's so many scholars. They're all debating. They're all pulling the rope back and forth. Like, what's right? How do you know what's right? How do you know what's wrong? What's perfect theology? This and that. He said, listen, this is perfect theology. The mystic John Corson. The person of Jesus is perfect theology. Put everything through the person of Jesus. It's like what you just said. All I know is that he died, that he was buried, and that he rose from the dead, that he lived. If you push everything, it's ambiguous enough to not be able to perfectly pinpoint everything, which is the obsession of humans. Like, we have to you know, but it's also perfect enough that it is him. That's the whole point. The whole revelation is him.
Yeah.
It's Jesus.
And we're all living with different stimuli. It's like there's this whole thing of like saying, hey, you know, like, I don't agree with my wife. She's the closest person to me.
Totally.
And so, like, if we can just say,
we're all so different.
And I mean, trust me, I can go with the Desert Fathers and Mothers all day long. By the way, that dream I was talking about, I had a friend say, a bunch of people have had this dream, starting with Teresa of Avila. She has a book called The Interior Castle. It's the exact same dream.
Wow.
You have a buddy that wrote The Shack. He's like, had the same dream. Let's
Wow.
talk about it. There's all these people, and it's just
Crazy.
like a dream that God gives some people. But I will say, like, it's just this whole thing of I really feel like if we can just let's major on that. That's so beautiful. It's like let's embrace these mysteries, and we know what's he's the truth.
Yes, he is the way, the truth, and the life.
All right,
He is it.
it's beautiful.
Ricky, dude, you're a gift to the church. You're a treasure, and yeah, I just appreciate your authenticity. I think a lot of people will not flesh out these things, even if they're working through them in their own minds and hearts. Lots of the church doesn't take time, I think, to flesh these things out and work them out. And so, I don't know. I just appreciate you, man.
Thanks, brother.
Please release these hard drives, and please keep writing the raw, authentic songs. I think some number ones are going to come out of that continually, but it's like, I want that rich stuff, so.
Well, there's a new song that I'm actually releasing from the archives soon. It's called Open Every Door.
Yes.
Off of this dream. It's about this dream. And I'm releasing it with Harvest Worship.
Yes.
We're releasing a song a month right now.
Yes.
All new original songs.
Yes.
That song, I literally can't sing it unless I mean it.
Yes. Let's give a plug. So we can find some of your music. This is Harvest Worship online.
Yep.
Other
on
places.
Spotify,
Yes.
kind of all the things.
Yes.
And it's just, we've never, I think released music like before I was there, but there's this whole thing where we're just like writing songs of what God's doing in our own church. Cause God's doing amazing things, and he's anointed Pastor Greg.
Yes.
No joke.
Yes.
Massive anointing.
Yes.
Just be able to speak to people in a distilled way about Christ crucified.
Right.
And our need for him. And so there's this, there's all this. We baptized 5,000 people a few months ago. You were there?
I was there. It was insane.
It's just, so anyway, there's a lot of miraculous things happening there, and there's this music coming out of it. But the last thing I'll say is the last thing we want is to try to be the next Hillsong or Bethel. It's like Rick Rubin said, the highest offering you can ever give is just one to God. And it doesn't matter about the money, it doesn't matter who listens. This is, when we're worshiping,
Amen.
My goal is that we just kind of disappear completely and just stay out of the way so that people connect with God. Same with this music. So if you get a chance, check it out.
Yes. Ricky, thank you, brother. Love you, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Love you too, brother.
Let's get some lunch.
Let's do it.